It's
And
the experiences.
you stop trading your time for a paycheck. And whether you trade your time for a paycheck and you enjoy the time you spend doing it or you don't enjoy doing it, you're still trading your time for a paycheck.
You know, it's such a great point because you know, I've worked 80 hours. I work hard doing this,
Yeah.
but it's a different hard. It's like I'm living life, sharing something that's helping people with longevity and preventative health and things that really matter. Because without your health, like that is the true wealth, right? Like we
Yeah.
all want to live a prosperous, long life. We should get paid handsomely if we deliver great products to people that's creating that. And so we do. But like you said, then it becomes not swapping time for money. It's like, okay, I'm now just living life. The two biggest prayers in most people is their health and their finances. So
Yeah.
as I'm living life, I'm coming in contact with more people. So it's just a beautiful marriage. I say this all the time. The best way I can summarize it is I found something to retire into and not focused on retiring out of.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I hope your week is off to a great start. Welcome to the premiere of my new show, For the Love of Freedom. The State of Freedom isn't going anywhere. We're just adding this to the lineup. And I started the show because it was the original vision the Lord gave me for a podcast back in January of 2023. And the timing to kick it off is finally right. So my goal for this show, so y'all know what it is to dig into the stories behind the missions that people carry for freedom. I want to do that in a way that allows us to glean from the lessons they've learned and the wisdom that they have gotten in those areas. And beyond that, I want us to leave each episode feeling equipped to take action. So I'll be asking my guests for their advice on how we can either implement some changes in our personal lives or perhaps how we can get involved in a freedom-focused cause more broadly. So with that, it is my absolute honor to welcome For the Love of Freedom's very first guest, Brent Palmer. Brent is a coach, a mentor, an inspiring business builder who leads by example every day of the week, and I have seen it. Brent, thank you so much for coming on today and joining me.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Danielle. This is a pleasure and exciting time. To be on episode 1 is just like, oh my goodness, right? So thank you for having me and thank you for all you do for putting this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, since this show is about the story behind the mission, I wanted to share a little backstory on how I connected with you, Brent. And for anyone watching, if you've been watching the State of Freedom podcast lately, you'll know that I started promoting a product that's helping to change people's lives. The product is called Slenderize, and the company is Partner Co. I'll put the links to those in the show notes, and if you want, you can go to freedomstate.us and click on partner, and you can look more at it there. But Brent joined me on a call not too long ago, and I'd asked the Lord that morning. I was like, Lord, if the time is right for me to start the show, because I've been feeling the nudge to start it, is starting to move from a nudge to a shove. And I said, I need you to send me my first guest. Well, when you got on the show, I knew that it wasn't just a call. I knew that it was a confirmation and an answer to my prayer, because you carry such a mission for freedom. You carry a mission for freedom for finances. You carry a mission for freedom in people's personal lives, your ability to spend the kind of time with your family that you want. And so I wanted to have you on for that reason. And you may not know this, but it's become part of the format of my other show, The State of Freedom, that I co-host with Chris Alexander, to bring a scripture to set the scene for every show. So the scripture that seemed really fitting for today, and it may just be the theme of the podcast generally, we'll see how it goes, It is John 8:32, and the Passion Translation says it this way. Jesus said, if you embrace the truth, it will release true freedom into your lives. So I thought maybe, Brent, you could start off by just introducing yourself a little bit and talk about the inciting moment or situation in your life that required a change.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. So my name, obviously Brent Palmer, and I live in Alabama. I'm 49, and my background before being an entrepreneur, I was an educator. I was actually a high school football coach, and I shared just actually earlier on a podcast and was asked, like, what was that pivotal moment for you? And I had my dream job. Like honestly, it wasn't my dream pay, if you know any educators out there,
Yeah.
but I had my dream job. I just had a passion for kids and coaching and mentoring and diving into their stories and kids want to be heard. And I was known for taking over programs and really starting to get the kids to work and buy into the cause of what we were trying to do. And I was heavily involved in FCA while I was doing that, and we did. They would come to church with me. We did a taste of the town on Wednesday nights after church with our teams of people. You never realize kids, steaks and things like that. So many of them's like, we don't get to have that, and so it was just a beautiful, beautiful career, and two kids of our own on a fixed income, being educators. Um, it's not if something's going to happen in life; it's when. And for us, it was a beautiful thing. We had twin boys came in to our life from an unfortunate home situation. They were 15 years old, and now I went from 2 to 4 on a fixed income. And so I started, like, I was living paycheck to paycheck, but then I started like being underwater, right?
Yeah.
And I started to watch the credit card debt climb and the other things climb. And I'm like, I got to have more money for our family. And at that point, I decided to step away from coaching and become a principal of a high school. And because I was following that career path, that
Yeah.
ladder. And at that point, I still loved it, but I left my dream to go do this. And it was just, I was feeling very unfulfilled in teamwork and unity and all of this.
A
It's
lot
hard
more
to,
admin.
yeah, a lot more admin, a lot more paperwork, and less about listening to the kids and getting to do all the fun things I got to do as a coach. And at that point, I had an opportunity to join a company, and you know, uh, I joined because I was searching for more revenue in my life, more income, and you mentioned freedom, and it was like you're not free when you're stressed about debt and credit card expense and all of that. And so, I know we'll get into it, but I God just has plans that is not our plans sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was it for me. Like, it was not on the guidance counselor's checklist. It wasn't on anything I saw that was coming my way. Here comes this little company, and it's a health and wellness company. Actually, crazy enough, it's seaweed. And the tagline of that company, oh my goodness, I hope I can say this on here. It was, "We seaweed differently, legal in all 50 states." But it's very healthy, right? It's a
That's
very healthy
hysterical.
product. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I am a principal of a high school. I cannot, like, it's so, it was a nutritional product and it's very good for you, but they were being humorous. And so I joined that company, and it changed my life forever. Um, uh, in a lot of different prosperity ways. Prosperity is not just money. It
Yeah.
changed relationships and people that came into my network and everything, and we can talk about that. But so the pivotal moment of change for me was that opportunity to embrace something different that wasn't in my circumference or my comfort zone, but yet I was like, what if? Like, what if this is something I'm meant to do? I don't know unless I pick it up and actually give it a full, like, true try. Like, really go in, crawl in the wheelbarrow, and make the move. And it, it was something that I once again found my passion in. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm serving people again. I feel passionate about it. I'm helping them with their health and their prosperity in a lot of different directions, and we're creating freedom.
Well, as I was thinking about this conversation, the Lord brought to mind, well, one of his favorite tools to use with us is discomfort. He just, if just a little nudge is not enough, you're just going to start getting really uncomfortable in the position you're in until you look up and say, God, what is it? What am I doing wrong? Where do I need to be? And it's those moments whenever the light bulb comes. I feel like that's when he brings the opportunity, but we have to get uncomfortable enough to say yes or even ask the question.
Oh my goodness, you're speaking my language, because it does. I look back on that moment and I'm like, I had two choices. I could challenge my limits, like I could step out to that land of uncomfortableness, or I could limit my challenges and stay in this little square box that the world had said was safe and comfortable, and I knew it. I knew where I was at. And so stepping out, I found a whole new exciting life, one that was purpose driven. And so I know it was God on the other side saying, come on over. It's uncomfortable. I know, but hey, and I'm used to it. I've been there, and that's the way I felt. I mean, it was like that moment I had two choices. And I see people every day that choose to stay in that comfort space. And it's not for me to judge, but I look and I go, man, if you would just challenge your limits and realize that, that land of uncomfortableness for a period of time can be so much growth and so much new horizon for you. And so I experienced that in my own life.
Yeah, as you're talking, I was thinking of that C.S. Lewis quote. I don't remember what book it was from, but he talks about a kid is going to be so happy just to play in the mud, making mud pies, and their parents are over here trying to get them in the car to go to Disney World, and they don't have any idea what they're missing out on.
Oh my goodness, it's so true. And there's actually a great read out there. It's called Dream Giver, and it's got a lot of biblical principles in it. And Dream Giver talks about that land of uncomfortableness really is that stretching point, that there's so much growth, so much excitement, so much adrenaline rush if we're willing to step off in it.
Well, I titled this podcast episode "Discipline, Relentless Discipline Brings Freedom," because I have sat in on your morning calls and just appreciate you so much. But I know that as a coach and as someone who has built a tremendous business, multiple businesses now, that has had to be the truth for you. And I feel like that's a point you make in a lot of different ways. Would you talk about the role of discipline in how, I think it's both discipline in action, but it's also discipline in a mindset, right?
Yeah, discipline is so important, and I'm so thankful that God brought mentors into my life early on in coaching that taught those merits of discipline and consistency and fight through the challenges, right? Rise up when the moment of challenge happens. And I got into this industry, and I'll never forget doing it part-time. And so my once I stepped off and I started being an entrepreneur and working, I first started part time, and then over time, the money grew, and I really got into it to make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month because I needed that space, that breathing room money where
Yeah.
you're not stressed out, and that was really my whole reasoning. But I started to love it. Like I started to really enjoy doing what I was doing, and so the more I poured into people, the more it grew. And about 15 months in, I was making more money at my part time than I was making at my full time. I'll never forget in May, waving out the last school bus for the year. And we all remember how it was to be a
Yeah.
school kid. And so I'm waving out the bus. I was like the chest bump, high five principal, right? I'm like giving them hugs, squeezing them because I'm like, that might be the only hug they get for the day. And I looked down at the little cop that would sit beside me. His name was Mark. And he said, "Hey, how's that thing going for you?" And I said, "You know what? I think I've got some choices to make." And I left there going back to challenges and consistency. And I thought, you know what? Maybe God's got bigger plans for me. And if I were to do this full time, step away from education, never dreamed I'd do that, leave comfortableness of pension, health care, all
Yeah.
the things, retirement, all the things that the normal path gives you. But what if? What if? I mean, there's a global opportunity out there. I would have the ability to travel to Mexico and Japan and all these other markets around the world and share these beautiful nutritional products that can create longevity in people's lives, but they need someone to share it with, and that I need the time to be able to go. And I called my mentor. Thank goodness for mentors. And I said, I'm thinking about going full time and leaving this land of comfortableness and security. And he looked at me. I'll never forget the advice he gave me. It goes back to consistency. And he said, Brent, if you're going to leave to retire and do less, then just keep working your full-time job and doing that part-time. It's been beautiful for you. But if you're going to leave and really go full-time, like clock in and out, just like you would if you had a regular job, like treat it serious, like with consistent focus, you can change your life forever financially and help others change theirs. And it'll be a beautiful, beautiful move. But I want you to know that if you decide to retire and then retire in this other and just kind of chill out, you won't like what you get. And so that day I made a decision to leave. Not that you have to get a little office downtown, but I went and got me an office downtown in my town. And I got up and went to work every day with relentless pursuit, like focus, energy, like nothing. Because I'd left the land of comfortable, gave up all of everything to go do this. And I had to challenge my limits. Like I had to know that daily consistent action compounded over time would lead to success.
And when
And
you
I
left your
really,
job, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, when you left your job, you also left the structure of that confine, right? Of the four walls of the school building. You know how the schedule's supposed to go. You know when your meetings are. This is like, look, Mom, no hands.
absolutely, absolutely. Everything that you wrap around, and I mean, I'd spent years in that area, and so I knew everything about it. So yeah, it was you didn't even think about it. It's kind of like going out and cranking the car after years of driving, and you just drive, right? You don't think about
Yeah.
if the brakes are going to break. Like you just do it, and that was the way it was. And then I go into this, and so I think for me, what I knew was if I will just consistently, daily do about the half a dozen things that make this profession go, then I will ensure my long-term success. I know there's going to be ups and downs, kind of like the S&P 500. Like there's ups and downs,
Yeah.
but if you look at the track history of the last 30 years, it's a nice curve for anybody that's invested in that. But there's been a lot of turbulence, like short turbulence. And so, but I knew if I could consistently do it daily, then go do that compounded over time, over 10 years, 15 years. What could that create? And so for me, I thank God every day for great mentors that I could call on and say, I'm thinking about doing this. Give me your advice. They've been there, they've done it,
Yeah.
and they gave me great wisdom. And then once I found those mentors, I realized I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do. And so
There's
they
a
laid
formula,
out,
give it to me.
there's a formula, give it to me. And they laid out about a half a dozen things that make this profession go that I'm in. And I just did those half a dozen things every single day. Every single day. It wasn't flashy. And another thing I did that goes back to this whole reason, and I love this, what you put together, this podcast, is they also taught me some merits when I went full time into the entrepreneur space of pay yourself first, because there will be a rainy day. There will be challenges.
Yeah.
And so pay yourself first so that you know, they're like, Brent, you've got a home, you've got cars, you don't need 12, right? You can only drive one at a time. And they laid out these things like, so just the money you earn, pay yourself first, invest what you can, and then you'll have security. So when you do fall on tough times or things happen, you're okay. You're okay. And learn with the intent to teach others to do the same thing. That was a big one for me. And then the other thing they told me was pray for greed and ego not to creep into your life.
Yeah.
My mentor today still calls me and he'll go, did you pray for greed and ego last night? And I'm like, I did, yes. And he said, greed and ego is like a drug. It doesn't just pick bad people. It picks good people. Like, so
It's
I could
true.
be a good person that creeps into my life, greed and ego, and it causes this disruption like a virus in my body. So, anyway, I might have
No, you're
digressed a little
good.
bit, but it just, in you thinking about like consistency, I think all of that factors in.
What you talked a little bit about comfort holding people back, and I think comfort is a huge trapping. What else? What else have you seen over the course of your time when you've interacted with people who've had a great opportunity and they either hit a ceiling and aren't able to move past it, or just aren't even able to take the leap whenever it seems obvious that it's time for them to take a leap?
Comfort definitely is a big one. But I also think comparison, like I actually spoke on this earlier today. Fear, am I worthy? Am I as good as they are? Everybody
Oh,
looks
yeah.
really good on the other side of the fence. And it's like, can I go play over there? I experienced that. I was a student that growing up as a kid, I got pulled out for reading, for writing. I naturally kind of like to read different. Like my eyes go from the right to the left and from the bottom up. So as a kid, I was challenged by that. And so I really put constraints on me. I'm not a good student. I was a C student. So when people see me as an educator or a principal, I had to overcome a lot just to do that. But I think that's what created a relatability to the students.
Yeah.
I think the best teachers are the ones that didn't forget how it was to be a student. Best coaches, the ones that don't forget how it was to be a player. And so comparison was a big thing. And then once you get into that realm, you can't compare your chapter 1 with someone's chapter 22. So it's like you're going to get over here in this entrepreneur place where somebody's been doing this for 15 years and you just started.
Yeah.
So to get to where they are, rather than compare, like, let them mentor you. Like, let them teach you. Let them, like, share their wisdom with you. And so for me, I see that really limiting people is they want to be where that chapter 22 is, but they just started their chapter 1. And so I think that's another thing that people will just retract and go back to the comfort zone when they're challenging their limits. And it's like, ooh, these people are all having success. I'm not yet. I don't like the way that feels because I'm successful over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, you're learning something different. You're stretching your limits. And they're in like chapter 22 and you're just starting. And so don't compare, just embrace and realize you're learning a new profession or you're learning the art of this over here, how to do this. So I think that limits people a lot of times.
The secret to losing weight 2 times faster has gone viral. See the transformations hundreds of thousands of people are experiencing around the world with the Slender Eyes Drops. These homeopathic drops are proven to control appetite, support thyroid function, help balance the body's pH, improve energy, boost mood, and increase metabolic rate. I've heard firsthand testimonials from droppers in their 20s to droppers in their 80s who say that the Slender Eyes Drops have completely revolutionized their lives. Try the drops today to see the results for yourself. To learn more about the Slender Eyes Drops or other incredible natural wellness and lifestyle products, email me at info@freedomstate.us and put drops in the subject line or visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. We also have links to those in the show notes. Thank you for supporting the state of freedom.
How have you kept joy in that process, you know? The
Yeah.
learning process, the being new at something process, because it's happened more than once to you. I mean, that the first leap wasn't the only leap, I'm sure. And so you've had to learn something completely new lots of times.
Yeah, a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer. And I think along the way, just immersing myself daily into books and audios and things that would teach, like I'm just literally here looking at one, like The Power of Nice, How to Conquer the Business World with Kindness. I mean, it's a great read.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
It's like, there's so many like great opportunities out there that I can immerse myself in that almost puts this armor on me when that tough season comes. And Danielle, it hasn't been easy. I was sharing earlier. I'm sorry, I'm going to get a drink real quick.
Oh, you're good.
I've talked a lot today. So I was sharing earlier that when I went full time, 2 months into me being full time, a storm came in my business. And when I went full time, I was making way more than I was making at my full-time job. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be able to travel and go. 2 months in, we had a major crisis at our company. And I lost half my income.
Oh, gosh.
So, okay, here's the whole comparison thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my goodness. Like, I'm going to have to go tuck my tail, run back, tell everybody it didn't work, go back into education. I'm a failure. Like, I'm playing all this in my head, right? And I'm praying. And again, reached out to my circle of wisdom. And they were like, Brent, you just got to go rebuild. And it's going to take some time, but you'll get back where you were. But this time you'll be armored up to even go further.
That's a painful thing to hear, though.
It's so painful. I wanted to quit. But I was like, I cannot. Like, I can't quit on my dreams. I can't quit on my reasoning for doing this. Like, my son's next door in our office here in my hometown. And I'm like, I think my whole deal was go quit on him. You know, he was young, like little bitty.
Yeah.
Well, go quit on him. Go tell him Dad's not prepared to anchor his feet in the ground and just stand firm and go build it again. And I did, built it again. Took me about 1.5 years to build it back to where it was. But then within 2 years, it was way beyond where it was when that tragedy happened. And so it taught me at that point, oh wait, I have the mindset and the skill set to go build it over and over and over. And I have. Because not only did that time happen, there's been other moments. There's been other things. And so now what I realize is I've gotten this skill set, we've gotten it, we're teaching it, that we control our own destiny. Like even when challenging times happen, like we don't have to retreat because we got the skill set. And, there's people out there to share what we have with. So it changed my mind of that, because I think until that time I thought, well, what if it goes away?
Yeah.
What if it ends? And it's like, it's not going to end unless I end, unless I quit, unless I retreat. And that moment taught me that.
That's so good. That's so good. And I'm thinking about the, hold on, I might have just lost my thought. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get it back.
Yes.
You were talking about, what were you just saying, Brent? Help me out. I had such a great point to make.
We were talking about challenging times. We were talking about...
Okay, I know exactly what
okay.
I wanted to ask you. So when you were, the place you were where you were super constrained in your finances, you're drowning, you're underwater, you feel like you're in a little box, and then you hit this place at some point where you're like, I'm not just running, but I actually am free. Can you talk about the difference in that, and maybe even if you had a moment where you realized, now this is freedom. This is what I was running for.
Yeah. For me, freedom is, and it maybe is different for everybody. It's kind of like, for me, prosperity is different. Like, it's not just money. I want and prosperity goes to freedom for me, in the fact that what is true freedom? And true freedom to me is to get to a place where I'm working my passion, but it's not just for the paycheck. Like, when I've created a book of business, like people that they're valuing, they're personally taking in our products, they're personally creating value for them, and when it runs out, they go reorder, and that creates this residual. It creates this buying opportunity again and again and again and again. Then now it's not just about the money. The money's coming in because of the relationships, because I offered a great service of products to them, and they're enjoying them and benefiting from them. But then it's like, okay, well then what? So freedom is, okay, now I want to go and I want to share this, and I want to experience cultures in Japan, and I want to go to, so I got to share this. Like just 1 month, 1 month, I decided just this past month, I just got back, I'm going to go experience the culture of Mexico. I've been there many a times. But I'm like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to be in with the people. That's freedom to me. Freedom is waking up on Monday and going and listening to somebody tell me about them, what they're doing, challenges they're facing, and they look to me for, what do you have? Like, how could, like, what could you tell me that could grow me or that could help me with my health or my prosperity? But I'm sitting in Guadalajara doing it. You know, we're talking about I was a football coach that had no money, that was in this little bubble, and I never escaped that bubble. And then I leave Mexico and I go to Romania. And I'm sharing with the people of Romania, and we're in, and I'm learning about them, I'm learning about their family, I'm learning how they overcome communism in 1989. Wow. I'm going to the place that they overthrew communism. We go downstairs of this place, and it's all this gold, like thousands of, 1200 BC, these gold things that they made from Bucharest, like Romania. It's a very gold rich resource, around the world or in the world. And then I go from there to Sweden, and I'm literally in Sweden, and I'm sharing. I get so excited about this. So I'm sharing.
Be excited.
And to me, going back to freedom, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we want you to go experience this sauna that we do." And it's this guy, and he's like throwing these things on hot rocks, and we're all sweating, but then we're taking cold plunges in the Baltic Sea, looking at Copenhagen and Denmark across the ocean, and I'm like, wow. I never want to forget never being able to leave this little circumference, and it's a beautiful life, but there's so much life out there to be lived. To me, that's freedom. That's freedom. It's not like if cars is your thing, if houses are your thing, like that's okay. For me, it's the experiences.
Yeah.
It's
and
the experiences.
you stop trading your time for a paycheck. And whether you trade your time for a paycheck and you enjoy the time you spend doing it, or you don't enjoy doing it, you're still trading your time for a paycheck.
It's such a great point, because I've worked 80 hours. I work hard doing this.
Yeah.
But it's a different hard. It's like I'm living life, sharing something that's helping people with longevity and preventative health and things that really matter. Because without your health, like that is the true wealth, right? Like we all want to live a prosperous, long life. And we should get paid handsomely if we deliver great products to people that's creating that. And so we do. But like you said, then it becomes not swapping time for money. It's like, okay, I'm now just living life. The two biggest prayers in most people is their health and their finances. So as I'm living life, I'm coming in contact with more people. So it's just a beautiful marriage. I say this all the time. The best way I can summarize it is I found something to retire into and not focused on retiring out of.
Yeah. I love that. I have never really understood the concept of retirement because I've always wanted to keep adding value. And whether that added value comes with a paycheck or not, I guess, I don't know if you remember the old preacher, Charles Stanley. I listened to him my whole life growing up. And he always said, the Bible never talks about retirement. And that's something that has really stayed with me, because whether I was in a job where I felt like I was underpaid, or now I'm in my year 2 of Look Mom, No Hands of podcasting, and there's not a paycheck that goes along with it, but there's value that's being added to people's lives, and you can touch people, and you can reach out and share a message that's important to someone. And that, to me, is something that, why would you want to stop doing that?
Yeah, it's so powerful. and I say this all the time, like, money always finds a way to follow value. Like, look for ways to find to add value. I tell that to my son all the time. I'm so proud of what he's accomplishing because he's creating his own brand and his own things by adding value, not because he just wants to create a brand.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, and I'll share this experience where this changed my life, and I realized I never want to retire. And you have to listen to this all the way through before you judge me if you're listening when you're listening to this. But it's like I want to make as much money as I can. I want to make so much money, and here's why. So I'm in church. It's Sunday, and this is not a brag on me moment, but it was the first time it was a aha, because you got to realize I'm paycheck to paycheck most of my life, and then I come into this industry. I work hard, start to be an entrepreneur. I'm earning money, and I'm in church. It's the first time it ever happened, and I'm trying to think. It was Russia, I believe, maybe the Ukraine. And there was a need at church for ministry, and we were sending a gentleman over for some ministry work. And they were at the pivotal point of needing X amount of money. And I'm sitting there listening, right? And I've never been able to, like, I'll put a 20 in the plate. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm sitting there listening, and it almost hits me like maybe it's the good Lord, like giving me a good hand. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I lean up. My kids are sitting there and I'm like, we got you. Like, we can do this. I didn't say anything to anybody, and it's not a like pat me on the back type, but it was the first time I'm like, oh my goodness. So after church, I go up and I go, hey, I would like to cover this. And it was a pretty good sum of money. And they were like, and I walked away feeling like, oh my goodness, this is what having an abundance of money and finances can do.
Yeah.
Like, who else can we help? Like, so I hope that my kids would tell you this if they were on here is if we see someone out on the street that needs help, I say this all the time now. I'm like, why do we worry about what they're going to do with it? There's only one reason we worry about that. We don't really want to give it up. And we're justifying why. But if there's an abundance of money, you just give and move on. Like, you're just blessing people. And when that happened, I'm like, oh my goodness, this changed my life forever. Because now I'm earning money to help more. How can I be more to more?
That's
people
amazing.
Around the world. And imagine if every homeless, every stranger that was in need, every ministry, every opportunity, you could step in and be that bridge. And it was like, oh my goodness, why would I retire? I just need to make more money so I can go do more good deeds. And at the end of the day, who's most blessed? Me.
Yeah.
I'm the most blessed. Like, it was the best feeling in the world, like the best high in the world, the best, there was just the best adrenaline rush. And so that changed my life forever. I mean, I want to do more. I want to make more so that I can give more. And now as I read books from people that are like, their job once they created wealth was to give as much away as they possibly could, I now understand that. I have growth to do, on that area, but I do see the picture at least.
Yeah, I heard this great, I don't know if it's a parable or if it's a true story, and you may have heard it along the way as well. It might be a famous one, I don't know, but it was some emperor or a Caesar or something, and he was riding through, in a parade, and there was a pauper who was begging for money, and he threw out, like, I don't know, some gold coins, like a sack of gold coins or something. And the guy that was, like his servant in the carriage with him was like, why did you do that? He would have been happy with basically like a $5 bill or something. And he was like, what I give is a reflection of me. not a reflection of his need and what would satisfy him. And I just think that's so beautiful. And what you were saying about giving to people in need spoke to me so much, because that's the heart that we should be giving with, and that's the heart we can freely give with, without the what my wallet, my bank account fears or stress around it.
I'm excited to share a fantastic opportunity for State of Freedom listeners who are interested in investing in precious metals, or even starting a home-based business in the precious metals industry. Metal Stacks is a precious metals collectors club where you can buy your metals at the best prices on the market, actual dealer cost. They are beating the big sites. They have no credit card fees and no minimums. If you're just interested in purchasing metals at a great price, visit metalstacks.com/dwalker. Get to shopping. That helps me out. I get the commission. You can also refer people to Metal Stacks for an additional income. If you're interested in learning about the referral business aspect of Metal Stacks, email me directly at Danielle@freedomstate.us for more information.
And Danielle, one of the things, so I believe the space of being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, like being quote, your own boss, meaning you're making the time limits, right? You can work 20 hours a day if you choose. It's the truest form of capitalism. Like, it does not discriminate. And I think that's what I love the most, is it's in my hands. Now, for some people, that might be scary, in the fact that in their hands is not the best place for it to be, because maybe they're not consistent, or they're scared, or they don't learn the skill set and things like that. But it's still the purest form. Like, it doesn't discriminate. So it's not asking me, hey, how much schooling have you had? What family did you come from? Like, what's your background? What's your net worth? It's just saying, are you willing to hustle?
Yeah.
Are you willing to go? And so I was having a conversation when I was in Mexico and about this, and I said, like, our profession, people in Mexico can make just the same amount of money. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the world.
Yeah.
And they were talking to me, and they said, it's not that way. Like, if you work in this factory that also has a factory in the U.S., you're not making the same amount of money.
Right.
You're doing the same amount of work, but you're not making the same amount of money. So you can't say that it's uneven, and so it's nice. And I'm just using Mexico. I could use other places, but so I think the entrepreneur spirit, like that spot, is just, it's the way our founding fathers really created this thing to be. Like, it's a
gift.
It's a gift. It is a gift. Yes.
And let me ask you this. So you've traveled the world a lot now. I spent a lot of time traveling through Africa for my previous life. Where in the world have you seen the most hustle? Because I felt like I saw a lot of hustle that I had never experienced before in East Africa. I really believe, pretty much all across Africa. But where have you seen it and it's just taken your breath away?
Well, one of my focuses is the Latin market. I think they really appreciate, whether that's in Spain or the U.S. or Mexico or Colombia or Peru or, anywhere. The Latin market, to me, they embrace the hustle. They embrace the opportunity. They want and see, like, to your point, like, oh, retirement's not, there's no talk of retirement. There's no, so I see that in that population. I was just recently in Sweden. I see it in that population. And Africa's another place. I had the ability to open up some doors in Africa with our nutritional company, and I see it there. And they embrace opportunity. They embrace capital. They embrace, the it's somewhat freedom to them to get to have no ceiling.
Yeah.
Of earnings. Like, it's there for me to achieve. if I can figure out a way to break the boundaries and just go get it, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different, I'm having a lot of conversations in Canada right now, and the U.S. Like, I don't want to leave our but the people of Canada, like, they embrace the opportunity to be their own boss, to be an entrepreneur, and to not have any ceilings, if you will, of earning potential and what they can do, and the freedom to decide who and where and when I go work with, and having that freedom, so I see it in a lot of markets, but I would say the Latin market is one that I see it in a lot. Is that hunger to go get it?
Yeah, it seems to me that places where the governments have a heavy hand or have really stolen a lot from the population, which I guess tend to be the same
Yes.
place, those are places where people are like, what can I do that not necessarily like work around the government as in don't pay my taxes, but how can I not be held down anymore by, the trappings of this system?
Yes. Yes. You're speaking my language. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, at the end of the day, to me, a true entrepreneur is one that they want the ball. They don't want restraints. Like, even if even if there's handouts, there's things, like, it could be easy, the road could be easy. They're like, no, 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 no. I want to pave my own way. Even if it's tough, like, I enjoy the experience of going and fighting for it. And, yeah, that's super powerful.
yeah. Well, Brent, thank you so much for your time. If you wanted to leave our listeners with just some nuggets of wisdom, which you've dropped plenty of nuggets along the way, what would be some ways that you would encourage them in terms of achieving some level of financial freedom, some level of personal freedom, and really getting that belief in themselves that they can do it?
Yes. So the financial freedom, I would say, if you're not already doing this, start today. Start this week. Even if you start small, pay yourself first. Like, and I'm not saying pay myself first so I can stick it in a, I'm not giving you financial advice, but I will say this for my own sake. It's not, I tell this to my kids, it's not sticking it in savings or sticking it in a drawer. It's paying myself first and invest for the future. Like, here it goes, invest for the future. Invest for the future. Wherever that investment is, okay? But also look to yourself right now and ask yourself, who are the 5 people I hang around the most? Like, who's my circle? And are they in growth mode? It's not that I would leave them or I would love them any less, but I got to find, like, our net worth becomes the network that we're around and we surround ourselves with. And so I always want to be challenging my limits on the people I surround myself with. Are they smarter than me? Have they done more than me? Have they got more wisdom than me?
I love
Because
that.
when I'm in that circle, I'm going to speak, I'm going to listen more and talk less. And I'm just going to be a sponge, because they are going, if I can create an atmosphere where they talk, there's going to be so much wisdom that comes out of that. And then the last thing I would say is, whatever you do, one of the things that I've learned, and it goes back to the power of nice, it's a huge piece to business today. Leading with love, like, when people can truly feel that there's love and there's heart within you for what you're doing, you will become this shining beacon that people will travel for miles and miles to come see. Like they'll find their way to you. They'll gravitate their way to you. So if you're going in life right now and you're like, hey, it's beat me up. Times are hard. I'm in a negative place. Like, what are you listening to? What audio? What? I never go to the gym without an audio on. I'm always in a book, because that is my armor that's creating for me, hopefully, this beacon of shine that people are like, I don't know what he's doing, but man, I like it. There's something about it, and he's got this love and this comfort about him, because I believe it's the art that our world has forgot about. And going back to the Bible and going back to Jesus and going back to a man that would wash your feet. It's like, if he can do that, I can lead every day with love in my heart and my spirit, and make people truly feel that it's authentic, not just me saying it, but me showing it with action. That would be, I believe all of those things added up is going to create a movement and a stir in you that is rewarding in a lot of ways, prosperity-wise.
Well, you just gave me, I feel like the Lord is giving me a revelation of this as you're talking, because I think about that scripture where Jesus says, a double-minded man, and he talks about, ask for anything, and if you believe, you can have it. But it's your mindset that enables you to love people, right? Like if you are strengthening your mind, if you're strengthening yourself in the Lord and giving yourself the enabling inputs, then you can put the love out there that does attract the friends, it attracts the right people, it attracts the divine connections, it attracts the right business. And that's what it is, to put your... I really get what you're saying about the whole armor thing. I wasn't thinking about it in those terms, but if you are able to be so strong in your mind, then the rest will flow from it.
Absolutely. And I get challenged by it all the time. As I know we're probably about out of time, but I get people that'll say, Brent, if you would be a little more flashier. Brent, if you would could you show the pictures of you, getting on a private plane or something like this? And I'm like, it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And so I got to be true to me. I got to be the person that I feel like God has intended, has put in me to be. And I can't be someone else. I can't be this person. They got to be them. I've got to be me. But if I lead with love and I've got it in my heart and people can feel it, it is an incredible beacon of hope for people, and an array of sunshine and brightness that they will come to see. And so will all people endorse it and love it? No, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's okay if that's not the case. It's my job to be me and attract the audience that God intends for me to attract. And that's the crusade I'm on.
Well, it's beautiful. It's obviously working, and I just appreciate you so much. Thank you for leading by example, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is an honor.
Brent, how can people get in touch with you, or how can they follow your work and follow your travels across the world?
I'm all across social media. Also, my email is brent@palmerteambuilding.com. Feel free to any if you ever want to reach out to me. But Instagram, Brent Palmer Biz, and you can find me across all kinds of social. So if I can ever be of help to anyone, that's my calling. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome.
Thank you
put that
so
in the show
much.
notes.
Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon and great week ahead.
Thank you so much. God bless.
God bless you.
Thank you for joining me on For the Love of Freedom today. You can stay updated on the show and upcoming guests on all of the State of Freedom platforms. And a reminder that we are live on Tuesdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time.